This video, first and foremost, is going to be a film study look at how Leonard Williams continued his recent tear against NFL offensive linemen. In this case, during Sunday's 26-21 win over the Jets on the road, Williams had 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, 3 tackles for loss, and oh, by the way, a 92-yard interception for a touchdown that really switched the game, drastically changed the momentum, and swung it in the Seahawks' favor. They were already playing really good defense to that point, just been put in terrible situations by special teams and their offense. In the last 2 weeks, as Seattle has won their second and now third game in a row to move to 7-5, Williams has 4.5 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, 6 tackles for loss, 10 total tackles. He could have one more sack. In fact, he had a face mask against Aaron Rodgers in the first half yesterday that I'll show you on film. He's just been simply dominant. I think if you look at his stats recently, the last 2 weeks, he's in a defensive player of the year type situation for his performance against Arizona and then now the Jets. Seattle additionally has figured out how to stop the run while doing it from their nickel platform. 2 different versions of their nickel platform, and the second half of this video will be my attempt to explore one of those versions. It's basically their 3-3 look, a little bit heavier personnel into the boundary, something I mentioned in a video last week, and 2 or 3 people commented and followed up and said that they would like to see that. Comparing it to their nickel base is what I'll try to do once we get through yesterday's film against the Jets. So this will be twofold film study here, probably long form, focusing on Williams and his impact in yesterday's win, pushing Seattle to 7-5 now with a road game against Arizona next week. Really important contest, if you ask me, particularly with how difficult their schedule is to finish the season. And then the latter half of this video will focus on the 3-3 look and why I think it has helped Mike Macdonald and the defense kind of unleash their defensive tackles and their heavier defensive ends. We're going to move around throughout yesterday's win over the Jets, generally focusing on Leonard Williams, but we're going to talk about a specific blitz/coverage that Mike Macdonald has used the last 2 or 3 years to really confuse NFL quarterbacks, and on Sunday he got Aaron Rodgers. This is his first sack of the day. In fact, it doesn't count. It's going to end up being a face mask. He really took advantage of, I believe it's Morgan Moses that used to be a Raven out there. I think he went down via injury. He took advantage of the guy who came in after that as well. But in this case, the running back's trying to chip him. He gets a rip underneath because of his frame being so high and 6'5", 305, 308 pounds, whatever he is. These running backs, when they try to chip him, it's even though there's a large surface area for them to contact, he's still able to play through that contact. Just naturally turns it into a spin. I'll let it run one more time, full speed. It ends up being a face mask, so it doesn't count, but I think it's illustrative of what you're getting out of Leonard Williams right now, whether you line him up inside or on the edge. Just physically dominant football play. Once the Jets got their first touchdown to go up 6-0, this is an incredible effort by Williams to block the extra point. He's lined up over the right guard, able to take advantage of the inside gap and basically break the posture of the guard. You can see he swats down with his right hand, and at the same time, the other D tackle, I think it's Murphy, is leaning on that right guard. So this is all by design, if you ask me, to free up Williams. Now, Murphy's giving amazing effort as well, so I'm trying to slow it down a couple of times for you guys to see the way that they're trying to work this with a swat or slap down by Williams, and then Murphy also pushing down. Both of those guys trying to extend. Look at the window that's been condensed or compressed for the kicker to get it through. Ends up being a block. Devin Witherspoon, of course, the football finds him. He's just one of those guys where the football finds him no matter where he is. He's the guy who picks it up. Moving forward here, second quarter, this is going to be the glitch blitz, the 92-yard interception return by Leonard Williams. But first, the 2nd and 7. Really cool play that a lot of teams are using recently. Kind of this fake rub slant whereby the slot receiver is going to step out to the outside corner, the number 1 receiver, make it look like he's going to pick him, and then they reverse course. So it makes it look like they're going to run a pick here with the slot, and then with number 1 receiver run a slant underneath, but they fake it. And I've seen this multiple times here recently. In this case, it works because I think it's Job is absolutely left by Garrett Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers probably would like to have this one back, put it in a more catchable location, and it might be 28-7. Huge missed opportunity for the Jets. Because on the very next play, Mike Macdonald unleashed what I call the glitch blitz. I talked about it last week. They actually ran it against the Cardinals once or perhaps twice. If you're a Seahawks fan and other people have a different moniker or a different name for it, feel free to let me know in the comments section. I always called it the glitch blitz because what happens typically is you get an edge defender on each side occupying the tackles. And from there, you'll oftentimes get 2 DBs blitzing off the edge. In most cases, it would be simply a 4-man rush on a known passing down, 3rd and 7. In some cases, it would turn into a 5-man rush, but the key point here is that as those guys blitz off the edge, the DBs, the 2 D tackles, drop out. They are essentially zone dropping and looking at routes. So Leonard Williams and 90, initially when they drop, look at his eyes. He's looking here for work. 90 right now is looking at Rodgers, but give it a second as I slow this up. He also looks for work to the outside. Have to also credit Devin Witherspoon here. He is the edge blitzer from depth, from a long way out. He realizes, I'm not going to get there. He sees Rodgers looking, and he veers off to try to get in this window. He doesn't touch the ball, don't get me wrong. It's Leonard Williams all the way that touches it. But I think Witherspoon kind of impacts the window that Rodgers is trying to fit this in. There's just no window there. You will get the end zone angle. That's the glitch blitz. Known passing situation, forces the quarterback to throw it possibly into a window, the slant window in this case, where Williams is able to tip it. Other guys essentially are playing man depending on down and distance. Usually 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, it's man. Sometimes, as you'll see later on, when it's a longer distance to gain, they'll play zone with the glitch blitz still happening up front. So that's the path that these 2 guys are going to take. All they're doing is occupying. So what I mean is Williams is occupying the center and 90 is occupying the guard. So that the edge defenders occupy the tackles. And then the nickel blitz, which in this case is Witherspoon, is oftentimes free off the edge. It doesn't really happen such that he's going to get there in this case. But look at the window that Rodgers doesn't have, the small space that he has to fit this through here between Williams and Witherspoon collapsing from the outside. Williams tips it up in the air to himself. It's a drill that you practice where you're reading the inside receiver. So if the inside receiver, who's not on our screen right now, if the inside receiver goes vertical, you're looking for someone else to come underneath of that. And that's exactly what happens here. Adams goes vertical somewhat, and then Wilson underneath. Williams picks it off. I don't know about you, but like the athleticism to take it back to the house, 92 yards was pretty impressive, number one. Number two, he didn't look gassed. Like when he finished this, that celebration, he didn't look gassed. Huge moment to be able to turn what could have been 24-7 or 28-7 into 21-13. Unfortunately, not 21-14. The special teams for Seattle was really terrible, especially early on. Had an impact against the run as well. Here's one particular snap I'll show you. This is 3rd quarter. Jets are still kind of clinging to a 21-16 lead. I don't know about you. Watching the game at this point, middle 3rd quarter, I felt like Seattle's defense was in control. It just didn't seem like athletically the Jets' O-line was able to get anything accomplished against them consistently in the run game, number one. And number two, Rodgers was really inefficient with the pass. Watch Williams against the guard. I mean, he just wins to the outside. Also, Knight is underneath of it. Perfectly fit. I'm not sure why they're trying to block it this way. These guys are stepping to the edge defender with the tackle, so they're leaving the guard one-on-one, trying to combo here. And then the right tackle, once he steps out to the edge defender, is going to move up to the inside linebacker, 48. Well, he's gone. Since Williams won to the front side, 48's able to fit underneath of it, so the tackle can't, quote, combo at all. There's no one to combo. I don't know why they just didn't combo it regularly, let the tight end deal with the edge defender. But in any case, it's a great play by Williams. Moving forward to the 4th quarter and his 2 sacks, and then the final play of the game, the 4th and 15. This is 2nd and 15, and Seahawks are now in the lead. I will do a video maybe Monday night late or Tuesday about Seattle's game-winning touchdown drive that obviously was aided by multiple Jets penalties. They've already taken the lead here. Defense has got an opportunity to close out the game. And Williams and Mafe are going to win against the right guard and the right tackle. In fact, it's Mafe that gets the initial pressure, and then Williams kind of cleans it up. Mafe with the swat down on the right tackle, who is helping out with Williams for some reason to the inside, and as such, just doesn't have the contact balance nor the strength at all to do anything with Mafe. I find it interesting some of the choices they made from an offensive line standpoint at the right tackle position. Mafe can't finish it. Rodgers, he's very slippery even at 40 years old or 39 and 364 days, whatever it was. And then Leonard Williams finishes him off for what really goes down as his first sack of the day because the one in the first half did not count. Jets have, after that sack, the Jets convert. It was a ridiculous play. Aaron Rodgers converting that 3rd and 26. Well, is a 24-yard gain, and then they convert on the very next snap, the 4th and 2, to Davante Adams against Reek Woolen. Just shows you that Rodgers, even on a day when he's extremely inefficient, I think Wilson and Adams had 10 catches, but it took 22 targets for them to make that happen. Even on a day like that, Rodgers is still able to make plays, almost converting the 3rd and 26, by moving out to the right-hand side of the pocket, finding the running back all the way across the field, and then converting to 4th and 2. So we're past that here. Seahawks are up 26-21, like I said, 2nd and 10, and Williams is going to win again, another one-on-one. I believe this is a guy that played for the Ravens last year, Simpson, who graded out pretty well apparently in 2023. I don't know what it's looked like in 2024, but no one at this point where we are right now, week 13, headed into week 14 of the 2024 season, no one is standing up to Leonard Williams. He's absolutely dominated 2 offensive lines in a row, such that, do I legitimately think he's in Defensive Player of the Year consideration? Well, no, but how many more of these does he need to put? First of all, he should be Defensive Player of the Week. He should have been last week. Kobe Bryant's pick 6 was a huge factor in the win over the Cardinals. Don't get me wrong. This week, there's just no question. Another 2 sacks, a third that didn't count, a run stop on a tackle for loss that I showed you from the end zone angle, and then a 92-yard interception for return for a touchdown. How can they not give that award to this man this week? In any case, here's the final play of the game. It shouldn't be a surprise. It's 4th and 15, though. After you've gotten an interception on the glitch blitz concept early on that Williams took back to the house, that they run it again. I think there's like 42, 45 seconds left, something like that. You get a better view of it maybe here with the nickel defender and the 2 D tackles dropping out. Now, it's not man across the board here. You do get a man turned by Reek Woolen down to the bottom of the screen, but look how many rushers you have. 4, when just a moment prior to that, it looked like you had perhaps 6. 2 of them dropped out, such that you can't possibly complete anything quick across the middle. We saw that earlier, Williams with the pick 6. Kobe Bryant wins against the running back, decks Aaron Rodgers, incomplete pass down the field to Garrett Wilson. The glitch blitz is a real pain in the butt to deal with. You can't run it on 1st and 10 or 2nd and 4 because it's not a known passing situation. The offense essentially could run the football. But when it's a known passing situation, 3rd and long, it's tremendously effective. It has been so for Mike Macdonald's defenses, at least 2023 and 2022 with the Ravens. Hell, he used it with Michigan the year before. I'm not sure. You didn't need me to tell you how well Leonard Williams has played. When you are in consideration for Defensive Player of the Week 2 consecutive games in a row, you're playing at the highest level compared to pretty much anybody across the league. Last week I made a comparison to a guy from a body size standpoint, and that was Calais Campbell. I'm going to make a comparison, at least what I've seen the last 2 weeks, to another guy. Am I saying that Leonard Williams has this resume? No. Am I saying he's on this career track? Well, no, I can't say that either. He's in his 10th year in the NFL. But what he's done the last 2 weeks reminds me of J.J. Watt. A guy who can dominate guards and tackles in the pass rush, win and make plays against the run game, and then, oh, by the way, drop in coverage, get an interception, and take it back to the house. Freak athletic ability. The schematic changes that Mike Macdonald has utilized, are they real? I intend to go over them here in a moment. If you're interested, continue watching. Probably another 10 or 12 minutes talking about their 3-3 look. Leonard Williams is a huge part of what's happening, though. He's just playing at an extremely high level. I think Macdonald is moving him around depending on situation, and they, the Seahawks defensive staff, probably pick matchups and pass rush situations such that they know, hey, we've got a guy, Leonard Williams, that's going to win if we put him against their left guard. He's going to win if we put him against their right tackle. So in any case, if you want to stick around and watch the second half of the video on their 3-3 look that I believe has been a big factor in stopping or slowing down the run recently, let's get it started. That's going to talk about how Seattle has limited the last 4 teams they've played to 84 yards rushing compared to what you had seen earlier in the year, where from a run defense standpoint, they were, I would say, bottom 10, 12 in the league. At this point, the last 4 weeks, 84 yards per game, that would be considered a top 6, top 7 unit in the league if you extrapolated over the course of an entire season. Do I think Arizona could possibly come out with some adjustments? Sure. In fact, Arizona often faced their nickel front. I'm going to show you their base nickel front first. Some people mistakenly call it a 2-4-5. We would say it's just a 4-2 box with these 4 being your defensive line, although 2 of them are OLBs in the case of Hall and Mafe, and then 2 inside linebackers. This is a play action pass. I think Reek Woolen is not playing this well. Talked about it a little bit after the Cardinals game. Play action concept. Tight end was initially blocking the edge defender. Second tight end released vertical. So look at Woolen. He's turned to find work. He thinks that tight end, McBride, is going to block. Really nice concept by Arizona to get yards into the boundary. Not really the point of the video here. The point of that play here, it was for illustration purposes to show you the difference between a nickel and what I would call their 3-3. So 3-3 means 1 OLB on the field. In this case, it's Hall that's circled. And then 2 inside linebackers. That's the second 3 in the 3-3 description. Along with that, you've got 3 defensive line types. Normally, the heavier, bigger, stronger guy, 6'5", 290, 285, is lined up to the boundary, and that's exactly what you see here with the ball on the left hash for the offense, right for the defense. That boundary side DN I'm going to refer to multiple times here as the 5 technique, the heavy 5 technique, less athletic than the outside linebacker from just a pure speed and agility standpoint, but because you're in tighter space, the boundary, the short side of the field, that guy is able to be a little bit more committed, a little bit more heavy to the run game than perhaps he would be if he was an outside linebacker. This is the same play from the all-22 angle, just so you can get a look at it. That's the OLB, in this case Hall, that is tied or is teamed up with 3 defensive linemen. In this case, Williams, and sometimes it's Robertson, is playing the heavy 5 technique to the boundary. It's perfectly suited for stopping the run because it gives you a bigger, stronger guy against some of these pulling offensive linemen back into the boundary. I think boundary side runs in the NFL, the usage has exploded in the last probably 2 or 3 years, but maybe it was more than I was aware before I really started trying to cover the NFL with the Ravens and then the Lions and now some Seahawks stuff. But the point is, you're getting an extra bigger body on the field, generally playing that guy to the boundary. In this case, it's inverted. So the outside linebacker is set to the boundary with the defensive end, Robertson Harris, I think, set to the field. Inside linebackers actually fit this one up kind of well, obviously before they acquired Ernest Jones IV. Same look against Arizona last week, 3-3 with your defensive lineman and the boundary side guy, Robertson. In this case, he's going to kind of fold inside. It's really a 4-3 look if you want to just be simplistic and call the nickel defender another inside linebacker. And I'm fine with that as well. But certainly 4 defensive linemen. One of them happens to be an OLB from a positional standpoint, and 3 guys at the second level of the defense. 2 high safety structure. I'm absolutely comfortable if someone wants to call it a 4-3. All I know is once I've seen this look more often, and they used it earlier in the year, you just saw some film of them against Atlanta, obviously, they seem to be better against the run, particularly inside gaps. And so what I mean is, whether they're in their nickel or what I would say is their base nickel, or their 3-3, oftentimes these edge defenders are ending up folding to the inside gap. And in this case, Robertson ends up on the inside gap here. It's not every single snap. It's not every single play, but they're responding to blocks, to base blocks, in a way that leads me to believe they're being coached to do this out of particular looks. Essentially, they're not holding the edge. They're not stepping up field and maintaining this outside gap. And I feel like earlier in the year, that's kind of what the Seahawks were doing when they're in their nickel, their base nickel 4-2 structure. Against San Francisco, even though they ran for 131, I feel like it was an effective look. Now, this is still what I would say is their 3-3 look from a positional standpoint, but this is Hall now in a 3-point stance. Check out what they get accomplished here with the nickel. Seahawks obviously have a great idea about what's happening conceptually. The nickel defender, actually it's Julian Love, so just call him the 5th DB, is going to attack for the boot, and that allows everybody else to deal with the run game and just swarm Christian McCaffrey at the point of attack. It's Robertson who falls down, but he is the guy that Christian McCaffrey sees flash his jersey in front of him and tries to cut it back, wind it back into a bunch of teammates to help. This is the same play from the end zone angle, so you can get a look at it. You also are getting, Murphy, Williams when he's at D tackle, 97, 90, all of those guys are taking turns winning when they get to one-on-one against offensive guards. And in this case, it's Murphy. I think he's played a role. If you guys want, maybe later in the week, I'll do a larger video about Murphy and his play recently. He hasn't put up the eye-popping numbers, don't get me wrong, that Leonard Williams has. Well, really, no one has. And it's not like it's always effective, this 3-3 look. If you, moving back some here to their game against the Falcons earlier in the season, situation where the Falcons kind of figured it out early on, and they were able to generate a couple of big plays in the run. So they're chipping or comboing the outside linebacker in the 3-3, basically knocking him into the tackle. And you also have a missed tackle by Devin Witherspoon, an opportunity to make a tackle there. Let's put it that way. He is dealing with a blocker. It's a good job by Drake London. First, he combos Hall, works up to Witherspoon, doesn't finish off Witherspoon, who I would say has a missed tackle, and it's Algiers for 24 yards. But one of the things about Mike Macdonald that I think you guys know now as Seahawks fans, and we know as Ravens fans, is that he's willing to adjust. So this is that same game. What did Drake London do early on with the edge defender? He comboed him and then worked up to the nickel. Well, watch what they started doing against Atlanta out of this 3-3 look with the tight end into the boundary. So when he gets anyone stepping to him, in this case the OLB Hall, he's not going to base it, meaning he's not going to try to stay outside leverage of that tackle. He actually pinches to the inside intentionally, I think, to avoid that block by London. When they started to line London up there, or even a tight end at times, they began pinching the edge defender inside and really causing problems for the Falcons' O-line. For whatever reason, it seems like right now, out of this 3-3 look, Seattle is easier to adjust to what teams are doing. And it doesn't mean that they don't still play their nickel at times, to be honest with you. They played the nickel defense essentially the entire game against Arizona, no matter whether it was 12 personnel or not. One more look at how I think the 3-3 resembles a 4-3 structure. It's not that Mike Macdonald's a 4-3 guy, obviously, but it gives you an idea when you see this here. There's your 3 defensive linemen. The OLB is just off screen to your left, to our left. I feel like it's making the interior gaps clogged up a little more and giving the Seahawks clear one-on-ones with a defensive end and a tight end. Now, this is not the point of attack, but no matter who they're putting over there, Robertson, Williams, in this case Jones, tight ends are not able to win those matchups against those guys one-on-one. In this case, it doesn't impact the play. It's actually the defensive tackle, 97, absolutely winning against a down block by the guard, pressing him back into the running back's path as Kyler Murray tries to make it look like he's reading it. That and that alone is what stopped this play. They have, I think, experienced increased efficiency and more physical play at the defensive line position since using this 3-3 look more often. It doesn't mean that the nickel, the 4-2 nickel, isn't effective at all. That heavier look, I think, is a smart thing to utilize, especially against 11 personnel or even 12. They're going to see a lot of 12 personnel next week against Arizona. Some of you guys asked for a look at the 3-3 structure. Hopefully I was able to get at least part of the way there of explaining how it looks different, even compared to the 4-2 nickel that Mike Macdonald utilized a lot in the last couple of weeks. I do think it's interesting that he went to a base nickel and they began to slow the defense down, along with a 3-3 changeup when the ball was on. It seems like oftentimes when the ball was on the left hash for the offense, right hash for the defense. In any case, you guys let me know what you think of the video, the film that I put there for Leonard Williams to illustrate how well he played against the Jets yesterday in the 26-21 win, number one. And then along with that, how the 3-3 structure appears to be helping the Seahawks get better at stopping or slowing down the run such that teams just can't gash them on those interior C-gap runs or edge runs, if you will, that were giving them so much trouble earlier in the season. Appreciate you guys' time. If you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy this film study look at Leonard Williams and the 3-3 structure that Mike Macdonald is using as a very effective changeup, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.